My name is Anastasia Bojanowski. I am an instructional specialist here at the University of Central Florida, and I'd like to thank you for coming to our webinar. I believe that in this generation, we can make all digital content accessible because AI tools are making it easier and easier. If you haven't used them recently, give them a second chance because they are continuing to develop. So with that being said, most of the people on the call are familiar with WCAG standards. We are in the 3.0 version, and I just wanted to, it's probably been a minute for some of you since you've been to the website, so I just wanted to remind us, we have the POUR framework. So P is for perceivable. This makes sure that the interface that the users are continuing to, they can adjust the color, the contrast, the font size, as well as viewing captions for videos. And these are all going to be very important when we look at what AI models we should be using for which tasks that we're performing. For operable, it means that your navigation must be functionable for users in ways that they can operate. For many of us, we know about screen readers. We also know about assistive listening devices. But I also want you to keep in mind that wearables are coming into play as well, and that will be something that we're asking our AI models to design for. With understandable, the information instructions should be clear and navigation methods should be easy to understand. So we need to make sure that we're using our headers in the appropriate order. We also have descriptions with links, that sort of thing. And then robust, we do have quite a few assistive technologies. If you haven't looked at student services, the ones that are facing our students with disabilities, it might be a good idea to contact them just so you know what assistive technologies the institution is providing so that you can design for those technologies. For the deadlines, for those institutions that are 50,000 individuals or more, your hard deadline is April 24th. And for those of you who have institutions serving 50,000 and under, you have a hard deadline of April 26, 2027. And if anybody asks you where you got the information from, the citation is right there for you. Okay, so let's talk about making digital content accessible immediately, just because it does have ripple effects, not only for students who need the accommodations, but for everyone else. We know that the National Center for Education Statistics, the trend has been going up. 21% of undergraduates and 11% of postgraduates or post-baccalaureate students are reporting that they have a disability to their institution. There is another study that wrapped up in 2024. It should be released in 2026, but they're saying that this number might be an undercount, that 37% of students with a disability are reporting to their institution, which means that we have a majority who are not. So, how can AI models help us out? We're really looking at the digital content and making sure that it is accessible for our current generation and for generations to come. I would start with a strategy. Most of you who are in the Canvas environment, you have UDoIT, which is an accessibility audit. For those of you in Blackboard or D2L, you have comparable systems, and UDoIT has updated. May 2025, there was a new update. It was clunky, it overwhelmed faculty. They've made quite a few changes to it. It will scan your entire course and give you a report of barriers. And then it also gives you a walkthrough on how to fix those barriers. So this is a screenshot of UDoIT. You can see these are the things that, the three dashboards, if you will. And I've done a small screenshot. This is the accessibility summary, and you can click on the barriers. And what I love as a faculty member is you can filter your results by module. So most faculty members want to stay 1 week ahead of their students if they need to make accommodations. So if you look at week 1, and it's a very easy week, there's nothing to do. But then if I go down to week 3, sorry, just redoing the video. You can see that there's one barrier. You can click on the barrier, and this is a potential barrier. And basically, it cannot scan PDFs or PowerPoints, and it's saying, go ahead and use the accessibility feature within that program. And then once you have it completed, you can mark it as reviewed. So the other task that we have for accessibility is alt text. And most of you have seen the ASU accessibility generator. It's a free tool, and it's honestly one of the best ones that I've seen as far as providing granular description for whatever's in the image, but then also for the screen captures, and we all have screen captures, no judgment here. It's very accurate in replicating the text that's part of the image. So here is another, I just wanted to kind of show you the functionality of it. You can see it will upload JPEG, PNGs, and JPEG with an E. And I gave it something difficult. This is the first page of the comic book, The Walking Dead. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panels. And you'll notice that a lot of the words or the text within those panels, it was hand drawn. They do remind you that you are a subject matter expert, and so therefore, when it renders the description, you might need to go in and make some edits because you understand the context a little bit better than the AI. So here's the long description, and you can see that it will go through panel by panel and describe what is happening, and it's pretty robust. And then afterwards, it will give you the alt text. This is what you would actually include in a content page. And then this is what I love. It goes through and just isolates all the text that was in that image. And I've run it with circuit boards, some pretty detailed physics drawings, and it's a really great resource. If you are working with equations and complicated tables, these are the tables that within a row, they have individual columns that aren't replicated what's above it. I would definitely use Gemini, ChatGPT, or Copilot for those. They're just a little bit more accurate. So this is good old ChatGPT, and I have given it a hand-drawn equation. It's actually 3 equations stacked right on top of each other. And the prompt that I use, can you render the equation in the attached file so that I can copy and paste it into Canvas in a content page? And I was really impressed with the output. It intuitively knew what the editor involved as far as Canvas was concerned. So you see it's going through and it's giving me all the code, and it's in LaTeX. And for those of you who know, in Canvas, and it even gives me directions on how to copy and paste it correctly into the Canvas content page. And it's also prompting me if I want different outputs. So I think that these are just really wonderful features. Now, with captioning and transcript, I teach first-year writing courses. I have since 2001. I have quite a few explainer videos, and this was the most time-consuming just because the accuracy was not that good until fairly recently. I would say with all the AI models that are out there, pick the one that works for you. So Otter AI is pretty good, but it's also very expensive. Clipchamp, if you are on Microsoft campus, it is part of your Microsoft lineup. And for those of you who are Panopto campuses, those are also, it's a really good program as well. All of these will generate captions, but they will require edits. None of them are 100%. However, they are intuitive in that they learn your edits, they learn your enunciation. So for example, when I say MLA, sometimes it hears Emily. And when I say your analysis, it sometimes picks up something different. So it learns it. And then also it will generate transcripts. And what I love is it will chunk the information with the summary feature and suggest timestamps as well as titles. So I have another screen capture for you. This is a video that I've uploaded. You can see that the transcript, you can download it in Docs or VTT. You can also edit the transcript, and I want you to see that it spelled my last name correctly. I have to capitalize Miss Bojanowski, but it spelled it correctly. This is the only one, this is Clipchamp, that does that correctly. And then it also has one other feature I wanted to show you. In the video settings on the right, if I turn on chapters, it will go through the video and suggest timestamps. So it will give me the timestamps as well as titles, and I can go in and edit each of those if I wanted to. Another support that a lot of people aren't thinking of, but I think you should, and that is supporting our students with cognitive disabilities. Here in the state of Florida, we do have quite a few military veterans, and some of them do have short-term memory loss. That's something I've had to deal with myself. And so some of you have created chatbots that are living in your LMS. And we really don't want students to go out to ChatGPT to answer the question. We would rather they have a bot within the course itself. And it will provide, these chatbots will provide summaries with links, and some of them can also give you analytics. So here at the University of Central Florida, we have developed our own bot. It's called Intelligent Course Search. This is what it looks like. I don't know what the name of the duck is, but it's part of our Spirit Splash. And I wanted to show you its functionality. So it has two functions. You can see that it's over here on the left-hand side on the Canvas navigation. And when I click on search, I can put in AI fluency. This is a AI fundamentals course that we offer here at the center. And it will go through all of the course. You can see some of it's a PowerPoint, some of these are content pages. I think it also will pull up PDFs, and it will just give a basic search for that phrase. I can also change it to function like a bot, and I can put in the same exact term, AI fluency, and here it's going to give me a summary of the information, and then afterwards give me links the way a chat bot normally would. So if I come on up, it gives an overview of what AI fluency is according to the course, as well as some considerations, some pedagogical considerations. And then afterwards, it will link to all the different resources that it found to give that summary. But wait, there's more. And it also reminds students that this is an AI bot. The information might be incomplete or inaccurate. We also have an admin panel. This was definitely requested by our faculty, and it shows you the frequency of when the chat feature is being used and also who is using it. It also gives you data on common keywords, and I think that this is important to kind of forecast when students might need help to maybe put in an announcement to get ahead of the curve, if you will. In the admin panel, you can also have settings where you can turn off either the search or the chatbot feature, for example, with exams or with quizzes, and then it will also generate reports for you. So it's a pretty fancy tool. I think a lot of you have also done some in-house bots, but it really does help our students who have cognitive disabilities. The last thing I wanted, or the second to last thing I wanted to say is that consider pooling your resources. You have champions for accessibility throughout your campus. Look at your faculty and student support services, your online learning team. Your instructional designers are hidden throughout. So some of you have them over in departments like satellite locations. Your media centers, the library, faculty centers, student support centers. Identify who your key players are. Here at UCF, we have a digital accessibility lab. It launched this last summer. This is an online lab, and you can see we have services, trainings, resources, and we meet faculty, whoever the individual is, where they're at. So this is for faculty, it's for staff. It's for students if they have something that's community facing, including in their classroom. It's for vendors who come on campus. We want to make sure that all the content that is digital is accessible, and you can see that they can evaluate the content, they can ask for remediation of content, or they can do a one-on-one consultation. The next chapter in AI support for accessibility will be wearables. I will tell you, my father is 84 years old, and he has Meta glasses. They have changed his life. He no longer has to rely on others to read things. He can order from a menu, as you can see here. My mom says that he makes great food because he can now actually read the directions that are on the packages. And the amount of dignity that these Meta glasses afford my father is just, it's humbling, quite frankly. And also, I feel like he's safer because he can see things in the event of an emergency. So we pulled our money together to afford those for my father. I know there are other wearables that people are pulling their resources for because they are such a game changer for individuals who need that accessibility. So thank you very much. And I think I made it just in time. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Anastasia, for that great presentation. Just want to do a quick check. Can everyone see my PowerPoint slide? Okay, perfect. All right, so our presentation is 3 key steps to AI literacy and implementation for teaching and learning. Um, I will introduce our whole team since Tom did that at the beginning of the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So our first step in this sort of framework is laying the groundwork for your SME. And to do this, what we suggest is to first start by basically showing and telling your SME what AI can do simply. And with this, I would say it's a lot better if you can actually do it in what I say is like their language. And the reason I say that is because obviously your subject matter expert is an expert in a specific subject, and might be like a niche thing. So if you're coming up with examples to show them things that AI could do. So for example, like if they want to create objectives for a module, maybe it's like a special project or assignment. Instead of just doing like kind of a generic, everyday example, I would really recommend tapping into whatever the subject matter is of the person that you're working with. And I think this really is important, especially now in 2025, because we're pretty much a solid 3 years in. I think, ChatGPT became available to the public in November of 2022. So it's been a full 3 years now. Most people at this point have pretty much had some experience with AI and have had enough time to kind of form opinions on it. So this phase really is about, I would say, like getting buy-in from your subject matter expert. And this is really the way to do it is by showing them, what are some, a few examples that it can do, handing that off to them, getting them inspired. And that's really what's going to segue into these next few steps. Because really, if you can't get past the first one of, getting them inspired and intrigued to use AI, then they may not want to use it. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Holly, who's going to talk about our second step.
Thanks, Sky. So once you've laid that groundwork with your subject matter experts and you've started the process of creating that buy-in, the next step for you may be to collaboratively design an AI efficiency menu for your specific domain. Here at the University of Florida, our ID team's AI journey began late 2022, early 2023, similar to the rest of the world. However, we were fortunate enough to be provided with this AI cookbook guide that was created by our Center for Instructional Technology and Training. And this guide was created for all UF faculty and staff, and it did provide us with a strong initial foundation for exploring AI's potential with typical day-to-day UF faculty type task and use cases. However, our instructional design team quickly realized that PharmD faculty may have more specialized needs. So to help us better understand those needs, our team sent out a faculty survey to identify where AI could make the greatest impact. And the most common themes that we discovered were included things like saving time on lecture preparation, generating assessment items and practice questions for students, and learning how to enhance visuals for their presentations. After we received all that data, we then took it a step further to offer one-on-one meetings with any faculty who were interested. And these conversations revealed discipline-specific needs that the more generic AI guides just didn't address. So during those sessions, we were asking our faculty questions like, what parts of your course development, as well as your day-to-day job responsibilities, take the most time? Where do you think AI could help you without compromising academic integrity? And then what tasks do you typically find yourself repeating each semester? And from those insights, we then started the process of developing this customizable, discipline-specific prompt workbook. And these templates were designed to support both efficiency for faculty and AI literacy for our PharmD faculty. And that brings us to our next slide, our AI efficiency menu. also known as our AI Prompt Apothecary Workbook. So this workbook is a living shared Google sheet that serves as an area-specific toolkit for our PharmD faculty. So essentially, instead of our faculty starting from scratch each time our faculty wanted to open ChatGPT or Copilot, now our faculty can browse a menu of pre-tested editable prompts that help them spark ideas and then improve their quality and efficiency in their courses. So for example, a PharmD course menu might include prompts for writing Bloom's taxonomy level learning objectives, creating case study outlines, building quiz banks, or generating professional visuals for their slides. In this image, you'll only see 3 examples, but the full workbook included many more, and they were organized by task-related categories, and each selection also included a considerations column with quick reminders about bias, accuracy, and the possible need for reiteration. For instance, when creating images, we noted that AI results may reflect bias, and sometimes they require multiple refinements to ensure accuracy and inclusivity. But at the end, this process allowed us to create a practical, discipline-specific resource that not only supported faculty where they needed it most, but also where it made the most sense. So instead of them experimenting blindly with AI, our faculty are now able to utilize AI intentionally to enhance their teaching efficiency and quality. So as we continue learning about AI, we are treating these menus as living documents, and we will update them regularly as new tools, research, and best practices emerge. And that brings us to our next step, researching and informing. So I'll pass that over to my colleague, Chris, to take it from here.
It would help if I had the audio working. So as Holly mentioned, step number 3 is research inform. And obviously this is the most difficult step of all of them, right? Because AI is constantly changing, and trying to stay current with that and staying on top of that. You can use a tool one day and the very next day you go onto it and the tool looks different, it has different features. All these things kind of come up, right? Because it is a new upcoming tool that is constantly evolving. And so one big thing is to make sure that you're not doing this in a silo, right? Because one person can't keep up with all the advances, can't keep up with all the tools that are out there, all the best practices. It's a lot to take in. And so really developing your community and making sure that you guys are all sharing ideas and you know, sharing tools and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other is really going to be the most impactful thing that you can do. Not only for yourself and your own career, but also to help your subject matter experts and your faculty that you are working with, right? And so one way you can do that is to, you know, share different blog posts, different emails, different email lists. Like one thing that we advocate for our faculty is to use or subscribe to the One Useful Thing by Ethan Mollick, who is, you know, obviously one of the big players in this field. But also thinking outside the box of how else can you expand your community and get everybody on the same page versus just these kind of siloed different things of, well, one person's doing this over here and a different person's doing this over here, right? And so within our college, we implemented a lunch bunch, which basically is we meet every couple of weeks during lunchtime, and anybody can attend from our college. We also have some outside people at different departments within our University of Florida that can all attend and kind of give any updates that they've noticed on AI, anything that they've used AI for recently, any research they're working on, any cool things they noticed, all these different things so that you guys can build that community. Another thing that we started was we created our own AI task force within our college. And so we brought in all the champions and all the key players and admin, but also, you know, some different staff and some students, and all these different groups come together so we can figure out a cohesive plan on how we want to integrate and implement AI within our curriculum. So kind of all these different things are avenues, right? And also leveraging the different communities not, you know, outside of your college, but within the greater university area as well, right? So there's different initiatives across UF that, you know, we make a point to participate in, different webinars, things like you're doing here today, but also things such as book clubs. I saw Catherine Rush in here earlier in the chat. She was the one that instituted that at our university, and that's been great, right? She comes up with a different AI article, and we kind of discuss it amongst IDs across the whole university. And those different type of avenues really build your community, and that's really how you can stay on top of this thing and how you can be the best voice and the best advocate for your faculty and your subject matter experts. So speaking of which, one of our absolute champions within our college on AI and has been a key driver in all of our AI initiatives is Caitlin Alexander. So I'm going to throw it up to her.
Thank you, Chris. So it's my pleasure to be here and share a little bit of my experience as a subject matter expert and faculty working with our wonderful instructional design team, and share some of the practical applications then that I have implemented integrating AI, particularly into assessments and activities for my learners. And so I kind of think of integrating AI in two buckets. One where AI is being used as a tool to support our students' learning. And we've shared some teaching with the students to give them instruction on how they can do that using our UF AI tools to enhance their preparation for class. But as an instructor and a faculty, I've been really invested in looking at revising assessment techniques to take AI into consideration and ensure that we are assessing the important critical thinking, problem solving skills for our learners, and they are outsourcing that process to AI. And so that's what I want to really focus on and share with you today. You can go to the next slide, Sky. So this is a resource from the University of Michigan that has been impactful to me, and I'll go ahead and quickly walk you through this, but it essentially is an activity that you could, or a conversation you could have with your subject matter expert thinking about assignments or activities that they have included in a course, or as you build an assignment in the course. So I think the first basic question to ask is, does the assignment address a course competency or learning objective? And if the answer is no, then you can consider dropping or maybe making that an ungraded or practice activity from the get-go. But if the answer is yes, then it does have an important place within your course to fulfill that learning objective, then the next question that I started to ask myself was, can AI complete this assignment and pass? And so that was a fun, I think, learning experience for me to prompt AI with some of these assessments that I ask our learners to complete and get an idea for what the output looks like and what type of output our learners may be able to generate using openly available AI tools. So with doing so, if AI cannot pass the assignment or meet my expectations, then you can likely carry on because there's nothing to change. You've already kind of raised the bar for your expectation of the learner or how you've created that assignment that already takes into consideration AI's capabilities. But if the answer is yes, then you'd want to ask the question, would letting students use AI undermine their learning? And if the answer is yes, then you may want to consider taking that assignment and bringing it into a proctored environment or consider an alternative altogether. But if the answer is no, then this is where you can consider building AI into the assignment. And so that's really where I started to brainstorm new ideas that I brought to our lunch bunch group or even discuss with our task force or other champions within our college or within faculty learning communities at UF, to think about how we can creatively build AI into an assignment and intentionally utilize AI to share with our students, with our learners, the capabilities of AI tools where they're building AI literacy, but they're also, for our program, then able to explore AI capabilities and how it may impact their future careers within pharmacy and how they may utilize AI tools to support them in their careers as learners and as pharmacists. Next slide. So these are three examples that I wanted to share with you today. One of the first assignments that I revised to include AI was a drug information inquiry or question. So this is a common request or ask that we get as pharmacists, where we're asked clinical controversies or questions on clinical controversies within pharmacy and need to come up with a medication recommendation that's specific to a patient and to their patient-specific factors. So in this case, you are able to prompt AI tools very easily for an answer to these questions. However, as we previously discussed, there can be considerations or limitations of that output, such as inaccuracies, or maybe not searching for the best primary literature or guidelines that are most appropriate to come up with a response to that question. In addition, it may not be patient specific. However, I recognize as a faculty that these are tools that are openly available for our learners. And so I wanted them to be exposed to this, this way of researching and generating information. So I took an assignment where I provided them with a drug information question, and I formed it into a prompt, and then asked the learner to first prompt an AI tool to generate an output. The next step was then I provided a framework for the learners to critique the AI generated output. And I think that's really important because it created a pause for them to ensure that they're thinking about the AI generated information and identifying ways that they can improve upon it. So that pause was really key in this process. I then shared with them that my expected next step was to complete their own literature search and evaluation to ensure that they're not missing pertinent or important literature to answer the question. I think all in all from this experience, the students really appreciated and provided feedback that by incorporating AI tools into this assignment, they felt that fostered a safe environment for AI use. Many of them shared that previously AI use had been banned for academic purposes and was not allowed by their instructors. And so this assignment allowed them that opportunity to explore AI tools without that risk of potentially facing academic integrity issues or concerns. Another way that we've creatively implemented AI is to facilitate self-reflection. Inherently, when I started to think about AI tools and reflective practice, that would be an area that I thought that I would want to avoid completely because that needs to be the student's, the individual's own work. However, we created a prompt that then assigns AI the role of the interviewer, where the student can then engage in a conversation to help them develop specific examples, for instance, from a learning experience, and reflect upon their performance as they answer the questions, the prompts from the AI. We then share with the student that they can incorporate that into their self-evaluations for certain courses, or potentially even generate bullet points for their CV as they prepare for maybe residency or job applications, or even can help them prepare for situational based interview questions by engaging with AI in this way. And what we found when we integrated that into one of our personal and professional development courses is that it enhanced engagement with more learners engaging early and updating their CVs early by giving them this facilitated activity. And then the last area where I incorporated AI was using AI-generated podcasts from the Notebook LM tool. So more so here, I was interested in creating supplemental resources for students to support diverse ways of learning and accessing information. And so I was able to create a very specific supplemental podcast to support learning within my course and make that available to the students. It was completely optional. And it was very easy for me, though, to generate just to provide them a little something extra. And then I was very interested in the uptake from students. So for the kind of thinking of this as a pilot activity of just wanting to know if students would engage with AI generated podcasts and if they perceived that it helped improve their learning. And so what I found in this activity and within this course is that response was mixed, with about 50% of students opting to engage with the podcast. But those that did engage shared that they did find it to be a helpful resource, and they appreciated that it was flexible and allowed them to take the content on the go. Next slide. So a few key reflections and takeaways from this experience is that for me, I found that AI really is transforming teaching and learning for both instructors and for our students. I would encourage you to work with subject matter experts, your faculty, your instructors, to consider purposefully integrating AI into your assessment and activity techniques, because it can be a very impactful learning experience for the students. And then to keep exploring, iterating, and adapting as new technology and our student skills evolve. Thank you.